Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Utah. It's about 3:45 Saturday morning, the 1st of August. This is my first time participating in the Docmanrides Sink the Planet tour of the world. I'm actually just sitting here on a main road, just enjoying the quiet. And we've got a massive full moon. I don't know if it's full moon, it's got to be close. I don't pay near enough attention to those things like I should, and I'm waiting for a couple of my homies to catch up to me here. We got Mr. Rojo Neck, we got the Dirty Italian, and we got the Dirty Sanchez are going to be showing up here. The Dirty Sanchez is going to be riding his CR 450X with the desert tank. And we got Mr. Rojo Neck on the La Mamba, the Black Mamba. Black KLR 650. Been well abused. And then we have my other brother-in-law, the Dirty Italian, who rides another basically brand new 2011 KLR 650. And we're gonna go off onto a little tour today. Got some things to talk about. I've been thinking about it for a few days, and probably like everybody else, I definitely have an opinion. But like all opinions, they are opinions, and I may or may not agree, but I'm going to share it anyway. So we're going to sign off here for just a minute. When my homies show up, we're going to go get some petrol. And we're going to jump on the road, and we're going to get back off on the dirt today. Oh, I didn't say, I'm on the venerable KTM 990 La Fonda. She's been neglected on the dirt lately. Actually, my wife and I have been going on some rides together, and it's been a ton of fun. And so she has been getting ridden. Oh, yeah, I'm testing out a new set of tires too. We'll put that in a different video though. Anyway, hang tight, folks. We will see you soon. Well, everybody, we're on the road here. We're sporting along Mountain View Corridor for those of you in Utah, in the valley. And we're heading out of Harriman. It's getting just about 4 a.m. now, pretty close. So it's amazing how many people we have out here at this time of night. It's nice to be out on La Fonda again. I'll tell you, I miss this girl. So many of you know that the topic for this year's Sink the Planet, before I start that, well, it's world peace. And I first want to just say thanks to Docmanrides, who organized this event, and I think he was the inventor of it, if you will. I think it's a great thing. It's something to look forward to, something to do. It's 4 a.m. here in Utah time. Had a little bit of time to think about it. I just want to thank him for doing this. Gives something for us motorcyclists to look forward to and participate in. And so I've been thinking about this a little bit, and I'm going to be honest about my personal views. I think maybe there's more people that feel this way, but I think there is a lot of things going on in this world that I don't agree with. There's probably a lot of people that say that there's a lot in this world that they do agree with. There are a lot of things I agree with in the world too, but peace is sort of that thing that I think eludes a lot of us, or not a lot of us, but because I personally, in my personal life, I actually feel very much at peace. But the world may be a bit of a different matter. It seems like there's always conflict. There's conflict between nations, conflict between individuals, conflict even in families. There's conflict everywhere. But in my own personal life, I feel very much at peace right now. So to start out with, I want to tell a little bit of a story, something that I noticed the other day. In Utah, there's a holiday known as Pioneer Day, and that holiday is one of my favorite. One of my sister-in-laws was born on that day. That's the Dirty Italian's wife. But it's a day that we celebrate the basic founders of the state of Utah coming into the valley. And for those of you who don't know the history, it's all about the history of the Mormon pioneers and the hardships that they went through trying to seek freedom, to practice their religious freedoms in safety without being oppressed. They migrated across the country and eventually settled here in the state of Utah. And there is a ton of very rich history with that migration of those people, and they have that celebration on the 24th of July every year. And so as a family, what we've chosen to do is go up to a place called This Is the Place Memorial State Park. And we do that on the 24th. We've started a tradition of doing that in our own little family, and it is an absolute blast. Now, why is it a blast? It's because that whole place is designed around celebrating the pioneer lifestyle. I think it is absolutely fascinating. Living in little small cabins, living with virtually nothing but happy people. I believe a lot of that happiness comes from the freedoms that they enjoy and the hope of a brighter day of being able to practice their life in a free and a society that accepts freedom of religion. Now, up there, when you go up there, they have Native American dancing, which is one of my favorite things. They have one of the nation's top 10 hoop dancers, a young girl who last year, she was 14, I think she's 15 this year, did a phenomenal job. I absolutely loved it. And they have different activities that the kids can do: bead making, panning for gold, making leather work, and all kinds of little activities. They have a bird display where you can go and they tell you about falcons and different birds of prey and how they survived. And this year, one of the highlights for me was we went into one of the schoolhouses, and they all act the part. In other words, they speak in the vernacular of the day, and they brought the kids in. They separated the boys from the girls. The boys sat on one side, the girls sat on the other side, and they went over the rules in the classroom. And whenever you answer a question, you have to stand up and put your heels together, clasp your hands in front, and bring your elbows out to the side before you can answer the question. And boy, and the consequences were pretty significant if you didn't follow the rules. And they talked about the paddleboard and the switch that they used. And I was fascinated, and I'm telling you, those kids were absolutely well behaved. Well, we went through and we're enjoying this day, and you'll see my point in this, bringing up this topic. They had some black powder shop, they had a cabinet making shop, they showed how they made candles, how they used them for lighting, they had log sawing, how they used to do it in that day, and they would tell pioneer stories, and I loved it. It was really, really fascinating for me. And as they were talking about these pioneer stories, they would basically kind of take you back in time, so to speak, and you would kind of almost felt like you got a glimpse of what life would have been like back there, and they were a happy people. Well, towards the end of the day, they had it twice throughout the day. We missed the first one. But towards the end of the day, they had a thing where they had a cannon filled with candy, and they had a parade, a little small parade, you know, and the Native American dancers and the others kind of went down and sorry, here we go. Anyway, these Native American dancers were going down the middle of the main street, and it was a lot of fun. And they had this cannon that was up at the end of Main Street, and they filled this cannon with candy, mostly like saltwater taffy, which they would have had back in the day, and they told the kids they could go down the street in a certain area, and that they'd light off this cannon. It would blow that candy out in the air, and the kids could scramble to go pick it up. And the kids were all just so excited about this. You know, we have older kids. They weren't as enamored with it as maybe, you know, they would when they were younger. But we still had a 12-year-old, and he still likes candy. And so they were all standing down there, and pretty soon you see a flock of people out in the middle of the street. And they were telling everybody, you know, you don't want to be underneath the candy, because when it comes down and it hits you, it's going to bruise. It'll bruise your skin. But it didn't matter, because the people were so fixated on getting a piece of this candy that they didn't care. They stood out in the middle of the road. And we got there plenty early, and my wife and I and a couple others were sitting on this little wooden bench, and we were just watching what was going on. And we noticed this kid, probably had to have been, I'm guessing, 7 years old, and he had a walker. And this young boy that had this walker was struggling to try to get around everybody, and the second he started to get into a good position to get candy, other children and adults would hurry and jump in front of him. And this boy was one of the cutest kids. When I saw this happening, I almost started to cry, because it reminded me about another story that I'll tell you in just a second. But this little kid, he wanted some candy too, but he had a disability, and he couldn't get out in front of anyone, because they would just jump right out in front of him. And he was struggling, and his legs didn't work hardly very well, and he was, you know, they're not paved roads out there. It was all you know, dirt roads and things like that, and so he was struggling with his walker big time. And as time got closer, you could see that he was starting to become anxious that he wasn't going to be able to get the candy. And the harder he tried to get in position, the more people would bustle around him and kind of push him out. And I made comment to my wife. I says, "Look at this. Look at what's happening." And she was watching this happen. And my wife, she is super tender-hearted. And when she hears about, I'll have to tell you a story about Easter Sunday one day, okay? Don't let me forget about that, because it'll show you what my wife is like. But anyway, so we're watching this, and sure enough, about right in the middle of when this thing is supposed to happen, we hear boom, and this cannon goes off. Candy is flying everywhere, and this kid looks up to try to get a piece of candy, and there's a mass barrage of people that run out in front of him. And they grab that candy so fast, all the kids are just scooping up piles and piles of candy, sticking them in their pockets. And what surprised me more than that was the adults. And the adults were just grabbing handfuls of candy and stuffing it in their kids' pockets. And I am in awe. I'm just sitting here going, look at this. And this poor kid almost fell 2 or 3 times trying to get a piece of candy. One single piece, all he wanted. He may have wanted more, but you could tell he was after trying to get one. And the poor kid, all the candy was scooped up. This kid never got a single piece of candy. And his mother, who is trying to scoot around to try to get a piece of candy, she gets pushed out because she's staying right there by her son, trying to keep him from getting knocked over. And she looks up with this look in her eye like, I can't believe this. And I thought to myself, this is what life has become in this world. People are so selfish that they can't even stop for a moment to take 1 or 2 pieces of candy, or let this kid pick up 1 or 2 pieces of candy when he's got a disability. He's on a walker, trying to maneuver himself around with legs that don't work. And I'm telling you, I'll be honest, my heart was swelling with, I almost just couldn't refrain from crying for this kid. I just felt so bad for him. And I believe that one of the greatest problems in this world that takes us away from the elusive feeling of peace is that of selfishness. Selfishness on the part of individuals, selfishness on the part of groups of people, clubs, selfishness on the part of nations, and I like to actually sit back and watch people. You know, part of my profession as a healthcare provider is we watch people. If I go to an amusement park, I'm happy just to sit down on a bench, eat a caramel apple, and sit and watch people. But I kind of narrowed it down into what I believe are what we call givers and what we call takers. And there are people in this world who are takers. They are skilled at, look for, try to take from others, take for themselves, do whatever it takes to leverage to make themselves have more, or be more powerful, make more money, take advantage of others, small ways, big ways, all kinds of ways. And this kid that's in this walker trying to get a piece of candy, I thought was an excellent example of what takes us away of peace. Now, my son, he's 12 years old, and I'm not trying to say anything about him in this, but he noticed this going on. He was able to grab one piece of candy for himself, and my wife and I didn't care. We didn't need any candy, you know. And he took it over to this kid in the wheelchair and gave him this piece of candy. My son didn't need any candy either. We just had ice cream, and we'd had lunch and all that. So we can go buy a bag of candy anytime. And that kid looked up, and the look in his eye, nobody else saw it, which was great. But, there's one thing that I think would make a difference. And if it doesn't make a difference in the world, I can tell you that it does make a difference in one's personal life. And that is to try not to be selfish. Take a moment to think about doing something for others and not yourself, because I can tell you there's that elusive thing we call peace, that elusive topic that we call happiness, and it's based on doing for others. It's a principle. I don't care how intellectually savvy you think you are, how much you think you know, what you think, what one has an opinion about one thing or another. I don't care. I mean, I really don't. I can tell you because I know in my own personal life, as soon as I start trying to be selfish about things, it makes me unhappy. There's never enough. There's never, you can never acquire all the things you think you want or whatever, but being selfish makes one unhappy, period. Whether they want to admit it or not, but people from the outside can see it if they're looking. But as soon as one starts to try to do things for other people, it brings peace and happiness and contentment in their life. And so my little plug for Sync the Planet this year, World Peace, is to try to encourage people to do what they can to try to be a little selfless, try to do something for somebody else. And there's something that whenever I get into these problems where I'm thinking about stuff like this, I'm reminded of a story that was told to me. Oh man, I'm long-winded today. I'll make this quick. About a man asked me one day, he said, why is it that everyone can admit this, but nobody understands why it's the case? And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? And the topic was, why is it that mothers' love for their child cannot be broken? You can go back to stories from ancient times to modern times, and everybody knows and accepts that a mother's love for her child, there's nothing. You better not get between a mother and her child, because she'll tear you up now. Why is that? It's different than a man's love for his children. A man loves his children for sure, but it's different. It's definitely different than what a mother is like. And I was sitting there thinking, I don't know why. I don't understand why that might be the case. And he said, it's because the mother sacrifices everything for that child. She sacrifices her body, she sacrifices her comforts, she sacrifices the things that she wants to do. A good mother will sacrifice everything for her children. And the greater the sacrifice, the greater the love. And the reason I bring that up is if we want to truly love our neighbors and we want to truly love other people and try to create world peace or peace within our own areas and families and people, dude, you got to sacrifice something of yourself in behalf of them. And I promise you, the more you do that, the happier you will be, the more peaceful you'll be in your own life, and the more peace you'll have all around you. So anyway, folks, that's that's kind of how I feel about things. Hope y'all are out having a great ride. It's fun to sit here and think that all these people around the world are riding right now at the same time in different places. And we're going our way out to the backside of some single track and stuff. But I wanted to do this while it was at 4 a.m. Because everybody else is doing it. And I hope that it can be of some benefit. For me it will. I love going and watching the videos of everybody else. So anyway, happy riding, folks. Happy August 1st. Thank you, Docmanrides. Look forward to next year. Peace out. Duhfactor be gone.